will move now into the world of the NFL, and obviously, we just passed what is most people think is the best weekend of football of the year. That's the divisional round playoffs. We had the Niners beating the Packers, the Ravens beating the Texans, the Lions beating the Bucks, and we had to finish it all off in the best game of the weekend. We had the Chiefs beating the Bills. And now, what this sets us up for is what I think will be a great conference championship weekend. Next Sunday, starting with the AFC Championship. I think that's at whatever that is, like 3:30 Eastern, maybe. And then we got the NFC Championship starting. I think that's 6:30 Eastern. I'm in Pacific time. I don't know why I'm going to Eastern time, but either way, we'll start off by previewing the AFC Championship because that one happens first, and I think this one is maybe the more interesting matchup. It's a duel between two quarterbacks who I'm honestly surprised have not played each other in the playoffs quite yet, and that's Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. What do you have to say about this matchup, Seven? I know you watched a little bit of that Chiefs versus Bills game. What do you think about this matchup going into it?
Um, I think it's gonna be a very good one. I think it should be very competitive. I think it's honestly a little odd to me to see Patrick Mahomes here this year. After everything, I think a lot of people have been very looking down on this Chiefs team, and I think they've actually proved a lot of people wrong just even being here. This is a very weird thing because, like you said, never played each other in the playoffs, which feels weird. Like you'd think they would have, but
Yeah.
I think this is a rare example of if you were to have told me that going into this game, Patrick Mahomes would probably be the underdog going into this year, I would be very, very shocked. But now we're here, and it really does feel that way. I feel like this Baltimore Ravens team has done everything they've needed to show that they are probably the team to beat this year on that side of in the AFC. And I think this is going to be really good. I think it'll be very, very competitive. Just like what we saw out of the Josh Allen or the Bills Chiefs games, I think we're going to see another really competitive football game. I think hopefully we see even more of a quarterback duel. I think this has a chance to be another all-time classic. And
Yeah.
personally, I think I'm cheering for Lamar. I don't know about you, Caleb, but I think I'm tired of seeing
Yeah.
the Chiefs dynasty here. I kind of want to see something new.
Yeah, even though the Chiefs are they completely are the underdog, like you said, and I think I do want to go back to something you said in terms of them proving people wrong. It's so hard to say because I don't their playoff run has just been weird so far because I don't know if it's proving people wrong as much because they were genuinely not very good in the regular season. There's a reason that Mahomes is playing on the road in the playoffs for his first time and for the first time in his career. There's a reason that's happening. It's because they weren't very good and they didn't have the weapons and the offense wasn't clicking. But now that we've gotten to the playoffs, it's almost like Mahomes has opened up another gear where he's playing up to that level again, where his playmakers are finally making plays for him. And it's like we're taping this on Mondays, like last night. It was the Bills who looked like the ones who had a disjointed offense and couldn't get their receivers going. Well, Mahomes is kind of chucking the ball downfield to guys like Rashee Rice, and it's looking just okay. Um, when I look at this matchup, I am going to be cheering for the Ravens here, and I do think they are going to come out on top. I think for as good as the Chiefs have played compared to expectations this postseason, if you just look at the divisional round matchups, the Ravens were the only one to really kind of dominate theirs. It was tied going into halftime, but in that second half, they totally pulled away from Houston, and that defense just leaves no chance. And I think Kansas City is a good matchup. I think Kansas City's defense is kind of up to par with the Ravens' defense. I think they're pretty similar groups, if not Baltimore being a little bit better. But I do think Baltimore's offense is significantly better. Lamar has played significantly better than Mahomes this season. You can never count out Mahomes. Obviously, it's Mahomes, and he's going to be playing the best football of the season because he plays up to these moments. But I think the Ravens are just too good at this point. They beat up on that bad Texans team, or not that bad Texans team. That Texans team was very good. My point is that the Ravens are just fantastic this year. I really don't see them losing. I'm not going to be 100% confident in it because it is Mahomes. But if I'm going to have to pick anyone, I'm going to pick the Ravens in a bit of a close game. I think it's going to be Lamar's first trip to the Super Bowl, which seems it seems like it's been a little bit long for him before reaching one. He's deserved to reach one for a long time now, so I hope he gets the chance.
And I don't disagree. Like I said, I think Lamar's the favorite in this one, in this heavyweight matchup we've got going on here, and I do think he's going to take it. I agree with you. I think if I were a betting man, I would definitely put my money on Lamar and the Ravens after the season they've had. And I know a guy who's a pretty big Ravens fan that if they make it to the Super Bowl, I will not hear the end of it. So maybe it's a little bit of a... I don't know. There's a little bit of me that wants to see them lose just for that reason, but they're probably going to get it. And I'd like to see Mahomes have to go play golf for at least 2 weeks. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you know this stat about Mahomes? I didn't know this until this weekend. Mahomes has been the starter for the Chiefs for 6 years. He has been in the AFC Championship every single time.
I know.
Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. But there is precedent for him losing in the AFC Championship, right? Obviously lost to the Bengals, has lost to Brady and the Patriots. This is the round where we can see him slip up against really good teams. And I think if there was ever a year for him to lose in the playoffs, it's this year. I think the biggest matchup to highlight in this game is how the Chiefs' passing attack lines up against this Ravens defense. You look at the Bills defense that they played last week, that was a beat up unit. They have so many injuries on that side of the ball. Tre'Davious White has been out for a long time. Matt Milano has been out for a long time. They're down to like third stringers. They were talking about like they literally only had like 4 linebackers available to them on defense. I do think this Chiefs offense has played significantly better than they have for a large portion of the year. And I think that can be attributed to a lot of their success. But I also think that they've gotten some favorable matchups in terms of defense with injuries for both Buffalo and Miami in the first round. This Ravens defense is playing at a full clip. They just completely shut down C.J. Stroud and Texans, who had been a good offense all year. Their only touchdown coming off of the punt return touchdown. So this Ravens group is absolutely spectacular, and I wouldn't be shocked with how the Chiefs offenses has played all year. If you're looking at the playoffs is such a small sample size that I wouldn't be shocked to see them revert to kind of what we've seen from them all year, especially against a group that's as good as this Ravens defense. They have so many stars out there. They have a fantastic coordinator in Mike McDonald, who has just been destroying some of the best offenses in the league. Lamar doesn't even have to play. I don't even think he'll have to play that spectacular just because of how good this Ravens defense is.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I don't even disagree with you. I think that at the end of the day, Baltimore has the better team. And whether the better team wins here, we'll have to see. I think that is the question, right? Like, we're not debating whether the Chiefs Chiefs or Ravens are the better team here. We're talking about who's going to win on Sunday. I think it's Sunday. Games were weird this weekend. It was like all weekend long, so I don't know, I'm all over the place. But I think it'll just come down to, like you said, how Patrick Mahomes does. I think Mahomes is the story. I think if he can find some way to put the team on his back once again, they have all the power in the world to win. Because that's all it takes. Mahomes just needs to play like Mahomes and they'll win. Or they'll have a chance to win at the very least. But if they go out there and the Ravens play the type of game that we know that defense can play, I don't know, man. It'll be interesting, especially with how we just saw the Chiefs defense pretty much just get lit up by Josh Allen on the run. I believe he had 2 rushing touchdowns, or did he have more? He had a lot. Just think about Lamar.
I believe he had 2.
Yeah, like it's...
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally, like I said, I think this is a bad matchup for the Chiefs. I think this is the last team you want to be playing right now. I think they had a very close game with the Bills, like you said, but the Bills don't have half the defense the Ravens do. At least not at this point in the season. So I think, like I said, the Ravens are very easily... This is their game to lose, completely.
Yeah, I think it's their Super Bowl to lose, frankly. I would take the Ravens against anybody in the NFL that we have left. I mean, and we've seen that. I mean, they didn't play the Chiefs this year, I believe, but they played both the Niners and Lions, and they pretty thoroughly undressed both of those teams. The Lions, especially, 38-6. And the Niners, we all saw that game on Christmas Day, where they single-handedly destroyed Brock Purdy's MVP case. They're just such a strong team right now, and honestly, it would just be so disappointing for them to lose at this point.
Okay.
They really have everything going.
Do you want to move to the other side of the Super Bowl?
Yeah, we can use that to transition into the NFC side of things. Niners Lions. Now, I don't think there's ever been as much of a good guy bad guy dynamic in a game ever. Maybe I'm just saying that because I'm a Seahawks fan, and I hate the Niners with a burning passion, and I think their team is stupid and I hate them. But everybody's been on the Detroit bandwagon. It's just such a feel-good story with how little playoff success they've had. But obviously they're not a perfect team, and the Niners have been really good all year. I think this will be a close game. I think this will be a good one. Not a matchup we've seen in the regular season, so a lot of unknowns going into it. How do you think this one will play out, Simon?
It hurts me to say, but I think this is, again, a very similar scenario to the thing on the other side, where one team here is very clearly the better team, in my opinion. And I think it's, at the end of the day, I said it last time, I'm going to say it again here, it's the 49ers game to lose here. I think if their defense goes out there and plays like they've played all season long, they've had a spectacular defense, they've had a spectacular offense. All around, like as a balanced team, they are probably the best pound-for-pound team in the NFL right now. And it's not, like, I don't think that's a controversial statement.
The Ravens.
You think the Ravens? You think so? I think
the Ravens completely destroyed them on Christmas Day.
That's fair.
In front of a national audience.
I'm just talking about when I look at a roster just talent-wise. That's what I'm talking about here. I just think that this 49ers team is so good, and they've been so good for the last 2 seasons. I just think that it would be a disappointment for them if they didn't come out on top in this one. I'm cheering for the Lions. I'm saying that, and then immediately going here that I want the Lions to win. Like you said, it's good guy, bad guy here, and everybody wants the Lions to win here. But it's so tough for me to sit in front of you right now and go, I think that the Lions are going to win this football game, because I don't know if I do. I think that if the 49ers go out and play the way we've seen them play for the majority of this season, I think it's going to be a tough game for the Lions. I mean, I don't know. I hope the Lions win. That's all I'm going to say past that, I guess.
Yeah. I think if I'm looking at things, I don't necessarily disagree with everything you said. I think the Niners have been a very good team. I think they obviously they've been in this for a long time. We can go back to Niners Chiefs. That was a while ago now. I believe that was pre-pandemic even, and we're looking at this team and it's a lot of the same narratives, a lot of the same roster, a lot of the same core pieces. Obviously very similar coaching staff with Kyle Shanahan. But I don't know. I'm looking at recent performances, and I'm looking at the last game we saw with them against real competition in the Ravens, and they got pretty thoroughly cooked. I'm looking at their last playoff game against the Packers, where if you don't watch that game, you look at it and you think, okay, the Niners won as expected. But if you watch that game all the way through, you saw that.
And I agree with you as well. The Packers were putting up one hell of a fight. I watched a bit of that game with my dad, who is, and I just want to say this, just a shout out to my dad, who was the biggest bandwagon football fan on the face of the earth. In the 90s, he was a fan of, he hasn't watched football like consistently in about 20 years. And but he'll tune in when either the Cowboys or 49ers are good.
Wow.
And just think of the timing with the 90s and the Cowboys thing. But yeah, shout out to that. So I was watching this with him. And again, I'm also a Seahawks fan, not as big as you, Caleb, but like I'm still definitely not a big fan of the 49ers. So I was cheering for the Packers, and it was pretty sad to see them lose, because I think it would have been a very cool matchup to see here with two sort of underdogs if we saw Packers Lions, and a divisional matchup as well.
Yeah. Division rivals, that would have been in Detroit as well, which has been a fantastic environment. Yeah, I was really disappointed in that too, because like you said, like the Packers the Packers not only put up a fight, like you put it, they should have won that game. They were the better team. Because it's just some unfortunate plays that went the Niners' way. When they had 3 red zone trips in the first half and no touchdowns off of it because they had to kick a couple field goals and they went for it on 4th and 1 and barely missed it. We're short by inches. I don't know. I think this Packers team, well, they were hot and they were coming into the playoffs really strong. I don't think they're quite as good as this Lions team. I do think this Lions team is better, so if this Lions team can play up to what we've seen at their peak, then I think they absolutely can win this game. I think they absolutely can win this game. And maybe that's wishful thinking, because absolutely, I don't think I will have ever cheered harder for a certain result in a non-Seahawks game. Like, it's my love for the Lions at this point, who have become mine, and I think everybody's adopted team in the playoffs. I'm going to be cheering for them, but I'm also going to be cheering so hard against the Niners, which I do every single year. So maybe that colors my perception a little bit. Yeah. Maybe that colors my perception a little bit, but I do think the Lions have a real shot if the Niners play like they did on Saturday against the Packers. I do think a big thing is Deebo Samuel is quite, like, we don't know if he's going to play this game. I think he avoided the worst in terms of injury news. I believe he had something with his shoulder. But you could see how much different that offense looked when he's not in the game, how much more one-dimensional they are, and I think that that's something Detroit can take advantage of.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I still stand by what I said right off the jump when we first opened this segment. I think, like you said, I think the Lions totally have the talent to win here. I think everybody wants them to win. I still think that it's the 49ers. At the end of the day, it's their game to lose. I said that earlier. I'll say it again. Because like you said, if they play like they did against the Packers, the Lions capitalize on that, they'll win, right? I think we can both agree on that, right? Like, it's what 49ers team are we going to see here? That's the question, right? If they show up and they look really, really good, look like a team that wants to go to the Super Bowl, I don't know if there's a lot that could stop them here. But if they come out and play like they did against the Packers, like they did against the Ravens, in all of those games that they just didn't look too impressive in, I don't disagree with you. I think this is I think this is a very good opportunity to potentially see a very big upset here and see the good guys go to the Super Bowl. But we'll see.
I think the biggest key in this game for me, other than I think Deebo Samuel is a big one. I think if he plays, then the Lions are going to have a significantly tougher time winning. But I think the biggest key is it's been highlighted in a couple broadcasts, those Lions corners are not exactly the greatest. We saw it in the Tampa Bay game. As soon as Tampa starts going to the outside and trying to win one-on-one with Mike Evans, they just torch him down the field. That's why I think Brandon Ayuk is another player to watch, because he's more of their deep threat. If Purdy can get it to him, down the sidelines deep, and kind of burn Detroit down the field to get some big plays, I think Detroit's going to have a tough time keeping up. But if Purdy's unable to do that, if he's inaccurate like we saw him in the Packers game, I know there was rain and weather conditions, but it still was not a great performance for him. But if he's able to kind of push the ball down the field, I think he's going to have a good chance to win. I also think, like you said, this Niners defense is pretty good. I think it's going to be an issue of how the Lions are able to exploit that, because they've had a good offense, but it can be a little bit streaky. Like we saw it we've seen it in both their playoff games, where against the Bucs it was a defensive battle throughout the first half and a little bit into the third quarter, and then they rattled off touchdown, back to back. Same thing in their game against the Rams. They were excellent to start the game, but then they kind of had to hold on for dear life as the Rams were coming back and they were having like literally no offensive momentum. I think if they're able to be consistent, I don't think you can have that same kind of like streaky nature against the Niners, because I think a team like the Niners is going to be able to capitalize on that. But I think if you are able to sustain that a little bit and not have as much of a kind of period where you're not putting up points, allowing the Niners to get back into the game or take an insurmountable lead, I think they'll be able to win. This is the game I think I'm more conflicted on. I'm pretty confident that the Ravens are going to beat the Chiefs. I think this one will be a little bit closer. I will pick the Lions in the end. I'm going to go with the upset on this one. I think maybe this is a little bit of my homerism talking, but I am going to pick the Lions. I just think what I saw out of them last weekend in terms of both teams, I'm confident that the Niners aren't quite the peak Niners right now. And I think if there's any team that can take advantage of that, it's gonna be Detroit.
Yep. And the funny thing is I don't necessarily disagree with that pick. I just think at the end of the day, if to me it comes out to just I don't know. I fully think that this 49ers team is going to come out and give us their best in this game against the Lions. I think if I were to give a pick, I think it's going to be a lot closer. Like you said, I have a hard time making a pick here, I think I very much lean towards the 49ers. Just because I think I don't even know. It's a gut feeling more than anything, I think, with this one. Like, this feels like the Lions have been on this, like, I don't want to call it a miracle because they have been good all year, but it feels weird to see them here, right? Like, yeah. And I just think that at a certain point I keep waiting for them to fall off. And I just getting this gut feeling it's going to be this Sunday. I just think that this 49ers team is so insanely talented, and they have all of the tools. Like, let's say Deebo Samuel doesn't play, which sucks for them. I still think they have enough to pull it off. But I mean, I think this will probably be the game to watch. I think this will be probably the best one you'll want to tune into.
This is the primetime one. NFC Championship. There's a reason it gets that primetime slot. Although, I mean, it hasn't been the best in recent years, but I think this will be a good one. Before we wrap up the segment. God, school's
God, I feel bad for what teacher has to fucking mark this shit. Holy.
We're getting an A+. Trick play has been stellar.
That's true. We've been good the last couple of weeks.
We have been good. But before we wrap up the segment, I'm going to ask you a question. Now, this is going to be out of the 4 possible Super Bowl matchups. We've got Ravens Lions, Ravens Niners, Chiefs Lions, Chiefs Niners. Not going off of what you think will happen, but what Super Bowl matchup you want to see.
Oh.
What's your number 1 pick? Which game do you want to see?
Oh, that's easy. Ravens Lions.
Yeah.
Like, I think because it'd be similar to this 49ers Lions game here, where it's like you'd get the perfect you have a clear underdog and you have a clear favorite, right? Like, and everybody's going to be cheering for that underdog. Everybody's cheering for that underdog. Like, I just think I don't know. That'd be so good. That'd be a good one. I think it's one of those. I feel like we don't see that enough anymore. Where there's, other than the only thing, and I know, Caleb, you're going to disagree with me on this one just because of where you stand on the Rams. The only comparison I can think of where there was a clear, like, fan favorite was that Rams season where it was Matthew Stafford with one last chance to win it all. Right? Like, it was.
Well, that was absolutely not a fan favorite. I hated that team. That was absolutely terrible. Well, because
that's the way I looked at it.
Think of who they're going. Yeah, I was annoyed at you in that season because you were cheering against my beloved Bengals. Because think about who was on the other team. Yeah, sure. The Rams had a good story, and honestly, as much as this is maybe a good testament to the Rams, because as much as I hate that team, I was cheering a little bit for, like, I wasn't mad that Matthew Stafford won.
Exactly, but that's just what I'm saying here. I think we would. This is like, can you name a season where it's been so clearly it's one team that everybody wants to win over the other? It's just a clear cut favorite.
I will say this, probably any season where anybody was going up against the Patriots. Sure. Maybe Falcons-Patriots would be the last big one.
Yeah.
Rams-Patriots, I'm biased, so maybe that one too. But, like, Super Bowl 51, everybody would have wanted.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if Rams-Patriots also just because of how controversial that NFC Championship was. I feel like that maybe took away from some people who wanted them to win it. Yeah. Like, So yeah, I'd probably agree with you. That Atlanta Falcons Pats game was probably the last one.
Or
But even
Eagles
that-
Eagles Pats, where the Eagles
Oh, there
won.
you go. Yeah,
That was
no,
another one.
that's you know
Yeah,
what? That's
52.
the obvious one. Yeah. So
Yeah, with
Like-
Nick Foles, yeah.
yeah, exactly, right? Like that's a really good one actually. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think this has the potential to be as legendary as that. If the Lions go out there and just like pull off just like Jared Goff, like this whole team is just like has the potential to
Jared
make the
Goff
best.
outdoodling Lamar. Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I want to see though. That'd be good. I imagine you
Yeah.
have the same opinion.
I actually don't.
Really?
I hold back a little bit because I don't think this is what, again, with the thing, like I don't think this is what will happen. But the thing that gives me pause on this Ravens Lions matchup is that regular season game. I don't want to see a 38-6 Super Bowl. I know it'll probably be closer than that. I know that was probably an aberration, but I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, yikes! Like these two teams may not match up very well. What I want to see, obviously, it's not going to be any of the ones with the Niners in it. I want to see Chiefs Lions. I think that would be a fantastic game because I think it would be. I mean, plenty of people have pointed this out. It's super poetic for the season to start with Chiefs Lions as the first game, and then to end with Chiefs Lions as the Super Bowl. That's really cool. And I think it would still have that same dynamic you were talking about, Simon, because it is
Yeah.
still the Chiefs haven't been as good, but it's still
No, I
Patrick
agree.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
For the Lions to come out and beat Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, that would still be absolutely fantastic. And we saw like that season kickoff game was a great game. It was a 1-point game. Those teams are super close. I think that would be a great matchup. I don't know. The Lions Ravens would probably be my second choice just because I don't want to see the Niners. But I think this would be a closer matchup. And it would still have that same kind of like underdog dynamic that you're talking about in terms of the upstart Lions going against the defending Super Bowl champions.
Yep. I like that too. I just think if I could change my pick, I think I'll stick to what I said, but I do agree. I think that'd be really, really cool. I think it does have the same level of I think the only reason I'd stick to the Ravens Lions is just because like you said, there is an opportunity there for it to be a 36 to whatever Super Bowl. Like that is definitely there. But what if it isn't? What if the Lions go out there and give the Ravens like a real run for their money out of nowhere? Like that game just has the potential to be like legendary.
That would be the biggest upset since that Philly Super Bowl, I think.
Yeah.
I think that would be an even bigger upset almost. I know Nick Foles, nobody would have expected that. Except me, I did take that. I placed it. This is the only. I think I've talked about this before. That's the only sports betting I've ever done. I put $10 on the Eagles to win Super Bowl 52, won that, and never gone back since. I'm 1-0.
It's the way to do it. Okay, well,
Yep.
I think we can wrap up this segment. We've been talking about this for a while. Next segment. I don't know what we're talking about next, but next. Whatever. Simon,
Basketball.
what are we talking about
Basketball.
next? Basketball? Basketball.